All right, good evening. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you here. It will just take a minute, whatever, to load you all into this webinar. If you'd like, go ahead and put in the chat where you're from. I am from Londonderry, New Hampshire. Let's see if anybody puts it in the chat. Oh, Nashua, Windham, Chicago, Mount Vernon, New Hampshire, oh, Los Angeles, Merrimack, Florida, Rochester, across the pond in England. Well, welcome. Albuquerque, I love Albuquerque. Gloucester, Massachusetts. Miami Shores, Florida. We have people from all over. Canada, Manitoba, excellent. How exciting to have so many friends from so many places. All right, well, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and get started because we have a chock full webinar for you today. My name is Brenda Peters. I am president of the International Dyslexia Association Northern New England Alliance, representing Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. We are thrilled to have you here today for our free assistive technology with Microsoft presentation by our very special guest, Rachel Berger. Read for parents. If you have questions during the session, please put them in the chat. Rachel will be stopping at least once during the presentation, and then at the end, we'll have 15 or 20 minutes to go through the Q&A. And that will be led by myself, Chris, Andrea, Susan, all of us. Andrea Pollock is managing the technical aspects of our webinar today. Chris is amazing at pulling links. So if Rachel tells us about certain things, you can bet that Chris will have a link in the chat for you. So check that out as we're talking. We do not provide certificates of attendance for these free Read for Parents sessions. READ stands for Research, Education, and Advocacy on Dyslexia for Parents. We specifically created these every other month events for parents. As a parent of a dyslexic myself, the fact sheets were invaluable to me in guiding me and leading me on this journey. And we thought, what a great idea to provide this to you, parents and others. About half of our attendees are parents and about half are practitioners. So welcome, everyone. No certificates of attendance, sorry, but I'm sure you'll get a lot out of this. The video, the PowerPoint, resources will all be uploaded to our website, and you can find all the previous ones there, and today's will be there within the week as well. Please consider joining our branch. There are many benefits to that, including connecting to your community, staying informed via our many opportunities to get information. We have great deals, and you can expand your network, either your parent network or your professional network. There are a number of membership levels, going from professional all the way to classroom teacher, which is free. If it is your first time being a member of IDA, you get to be a member for free for the very first year. So check out the different membership levels and join our branch. The more boots on the ground we have, the greater impact and change we can create. When you join our branch, we do have a number of things that we participate in. This Read for Parents, every other month sessions, so we have 6 a year. We also do a Wilson reading collaboration twice a year. We have our annual conference, and I have some exciting news to share with you at the end, so stay on the 27th and 28th. It's a totally virtual conference. It is a who's who of reading giants, so please join us for that. We also do an annual Project Read webinar in February. We have newsletters in February and August, and we provide many scholarships. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Rachel. Rachel Berger is a nonprofit organization leader with a demonstrated history of working in the political organization industry. Rachel is deeply involved in the dyslexia community and currently serves as Dyslexia and Learning Disabilities Community Consultant with Microsoft and is the president and executive director of Decoding Dyslexia, Minnesota. Rachel Berger is an experienced and passionate assistive technology evangelist and advocate focused on accessibility, neurodiversity, education, and literacy. With more than 2 decades of consumer and enterprise product experience building internal and external relationships that drive strategy, development, and operations for consumer and enterprise products and services that empower people to reach their full potential. That sounds very, very exciting, Rachel. Take it away. We are so excited to learn about the work you've been doing. We're going to go ahead and all hide ourselves. If we can't hear or see something, we'll let you know, and we'll come back at the end and be together. Thanks, Rachel.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you for having me here. I'm going to go ahead and get started with, let's get started on the correct slide here. So we're going to talk today about supporting literacy with Microsoft tools. We'll talk about Immersive Reader and reading progress, and I'll probably also add in our writing tools, as I know more often than not, students who struggle with literacy also struggle with writing. So we've got a good 60 minutes here probably, and I will stop at some point just to see if we have questions. So don't hesitate though, if you have a question, feel free to go ahead and type it into the chat, and then our moderators will help when I take a break. They'll read the questions aloud to me, and then we'll stop again at the end for questions. You all have a link to my PowerPoint deck in the chat and my email as well. So, and you'll want a link to the PowerPoint deck because that is where I put all of our resources. This is the end of the PowerPoint deck, and I'll walk through those too when we get to that area. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, we did already have a lovely introduction. Those of you that tweet, this is my Twitter handle on the screen, and those of you that might like to reach out to me via email to tell me your experience with these tools, or maybe you're an educator who would like a training for your cohort group at school, or an organization leader, here you have my email address for your convenience. So I always like to start out with this slide, and chances are majority of you have seen this visual image of students who are standing on crates to try to see over a fence and participate or engage in a baseball game. It's a slide on equality versus equity. The reason I like to start with this slide is that my experience in my educational years was that of the student circled in red here who was unable to see over the fence to participate in a baseball game. So I was a student who was unidentified and unsupported with dyslexia the entirety of my educational years. There's a common misconception that equality and equity can mean the same thing, and that they can be used interchangeably, especially when we're talking about education. But the truth is they don't, and they can't. The two words are similar, but the difference between them is crucial, especially when we're talking about individuals of differing abilities. Equity encourages access to the same opportunities specific to need, and before we can ever enjoy equality, we have to ensure equity. So today, what our presentation is about is showing you how Microsoft's free and built-in learning tools can help bridge that gap and help students to receive more equitable access to their curriculum, engage more in their learning community, become more independent, which is something we all care deeply about, and really personalize that learning experience to something that works best for them. So continuing along the backdrop here, I just want to give you a little insight as to some things Microsoft was involved in before we demonstrate the first tool. So Microsoft Education, which is the area in which I work, has a deep care and in terms of education environments, students, and this particular study put out by Scholastic in 2014 was something that Microsoft individuals took a really hard look at and thought about from a perspective of how can we help, how can we solve. So Scholastic put out a survey and 14,000 educators responded, and this is what we learned. We learned that 3/4 of all educators today report working in classrooms where student reading levels span 4 or more grade levels within that one gen ed classroom. That may not come as a surprise to those of you joining us here today because you're all deeply entrenched in literacy. But I know that is very difficult for educators to manage. 3/4 of all classrooms have students with special education needs, whether those students are on an IEP, a 504, or have some unique level of need for accommodation and modification. Again, within that one gen ed setting. And then half of all of our classrooms today have students who are non-native speakers or English as a second language within their classrooms. So you can see, just given those 3 data points, why up to 50% of instructional time can be lost managing those needs, including assistive technology. And yet, assistive technology is meant to bridge gaps and help with those specific needs. So today we're going to talk about specifically how we can empower students and bridge those gaps and level the playing field a little bit more, specifically in an area that a lot of us, or that many students, struggle or is most common. So 17 to 20% of the population potentially struggling with literacy and or dyslexia. And before I go into that, I just want to, from an accessibility point, talk about accessibility as a whole. About 1 billion people globally struggle with disabilities. 1 billion. It's quite a bit. And whether that's something where an individual struggles with a permanent disability or a temporary impairment, or even just a situational requirement. Assistive technology is something that is relied upon heavily by many of us for many different reasons. Today, we're going to focus obviously on the more invisible reasons in which we'd use these technologies. So like dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, maybe it's ADHD. But no less, again, 1 billion people require some level of assistive technology on a daily basis. All right, so we are going to hop straight into the Immersive Reader, which is a tool Microsoft created in 2016 at a global hackathon. And this is one of the first tools that is that we have to help students who are struggling with literacy and or dyslexia. I'm going to part ways with our PowerPoint at this point, and we're going to go into OneNote. So bear with me here. As I do that, what we should be displaying is a OneNote application. That's on the desktop of my computer, and we'll know that we're in OneNote because there's a large purple banner across the top of my screen. And I know our moderators are going to help me if that is not actually what's displaying. All right, okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with Immersive Reader. It was built in OneNote, and OneNote I liken to a digital, I'm just trying to get I liken OneNote to a digital trapper keeper. That probably dates me a little bit, but that's okay because kids from the 80s are pretty cool. And so back in the day, we carried trapper keepers to keep all of our multi-subject notebooks together. And the thing is, you could only hold about 5 notebooks before the thing would burst at the seams and send everything scattered upon the floor. So OneNote is an app, both for the desktop or the free online version, that enables you to have multiple notebooks, and then within those notebooks, further content or subjects. So here, I am trying to get our immersive reader to pop up, so I might need to play for a minute here and pop this up again. Let's see. You know what? I have to close this for a second and reopen it. And that I know is going to mean I have to re-engage our share screen. So bear with me 1 second. Okay, we should be on OneNote Notebook. All right, let's go to our View tab. And there's our Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader is an icon with a book and a speaker in the middle of that book. So that's a really easy way to identify it. It just turned off. Wow. Gonna do that again. Sorry, guys. Even tech people have troubles now and then. So for the sake of this particular story I'd like to talk about or feature within OneNote, I had a 3rd grade student I was working with and his educator. And she wanted to make sure that this student had access to everything his peers had access to in the classroom. So same grade level content, even though he's diagnosed as dyslexic and reading at a 1st grade level. And so what she was doing is loading his content into the OneNote notebook and then enabling him to use his iPad and do what we all call ear reading. So even though he couldn't read that text yet himself, he was still getting great interventions, but she wanted to enable him a workaround. And so one of the things, let me just show you quickly how that would work. What you would do is you'd go to the Insert tab and File. And what File does is it pulls anything from your personal device. So if you've saved a Word document or a PDF, and Word documents are going to be the best way to upload things to OneNote. So if you've got something you're using in your classroom or your tutoring organization or other, and it's in a Word format, then you would just, again, click that insert, you go to your device, and you'd click on the particular file and click open. And then you can insert it into the specific page. From there, you click on the View tab and you should be able to click on Immersive Reader. Now, I don't know what specifically is happening to us at this moment, but I'm going to move on. So we'd click Immersive Reader, and then that would enable us to have a reading view. What I'm going to do is move over to Edge browser and demonstrate it in there, because I would have gone on to Edge browser after this in the first place. So that is what we're going to do. We are now using Edge browser. We've left OneNote Notebook. And again, OneNote is desktop and online, and the exact same content and features are available using Microsoft's Edge browser. So not only is it in OneNote Notebook, it is also in Microsoft's Google, if you will. So Edge browser, Chromium edition. You'll notice that I have this article pulled up called Tween Tribune. I like this website called Tween Tribune. It's got a lot of great K-12 content in a multitude of educational topics. This is a really great website for students. And you'll notice up here in the browser bar, I've got these different icons, and there's Immersive Reader. So in order to do our Immersive Reader demonstration, we are just going to do it in the Edge browser to be same as we would have seen in OneNote. And here we are, we've clicked on the Immersive Reader, and now what this has done is wiped out all of the ads and given us what we call a reading view of this page. So if I was to click on the Read Aloud feature, I would have this Immersive Reader just read to me. Okay, so we're having our lovely neural text-to-speech speaking voice read aloud to us. Over here, you see that we have voice options. And I always like to point out the importance of these different features. So we have speed. A lot of you know that when working with students who struggle, in particular those who might have an auditory processing disorder or dyslexia, the speed is really important because they're processing language and comprehending at the same time. And so some of them might be able to push that speed way up and it works for them, while others might actually slow that down a bit. And so it's really important for them to be able to personalize to their specific needs here. Voice here, we've got a ton of different voice settings. And so that's just, again, for personal preferences. And the user can go ahead and change that as they wish. So if I was to close this out here, I now have my text preferences. I'm not sure about you guys, but I don't like looking at print that small. My eyes don't like that anymore. So here we go. Looking a little bit more comfortable for me. And maybe let's put some spacing in. So I have a 16-year-old son with dyslexia who was identified and immediately remediated starting in kindergarten, late kindergarten. So we're really lucky. He does not use the actual read aloud feature and do ear reading. He likes to use all these personalization features. And what he told me about the spacing feature is that when the spacing is on, it tells my brain to slow down. And I remember what I read by the time I get to the end of the page. Whereas he feels that when the words are closely kerned together and there's no spacing, he just plows through the content and doesn't really remember what he read. I think that's really interesting that he's figured that out and he has a personal preference. And so you'll see there where that works out really lovely. And you'll see that we have font choices. Comic Sans is something our educators request because it looks like it's more handwritten than typewritten, and that can be easier on some individuals. We have background colors. So whether you're an individual who struggles with low vision, color blindness, very, very few individuals struggle with something called convergence. Or you could have eye strain, or maybe it's simple preference. You have the ability here to change the background color as it suits you. I discovered through this that I actually like a sepia type background better than white, or commonly it seems like dyslexics like that black background with white on it, and that I find really straining. So again, personal preference enables us to choose how we prefer to consume our content. Now over here, we have our grammar tools, and this first one will break words into syllables with a click of a button, and it'll still read aloud. It's not going to read in a broken syllable manner, but you'll see that our words are broken into syllables, which helps individuals with their reading along. Excuse me. We also have parts of speech, so we can highlight parts of speech here. I'm going to change the syllables, and we could also show the labels above. In addition to that, I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard for me to tell the difference between something that's black here and green. So we can use the drop down to change the color to something that works better for us for a multitude of reasons. All right, so moving on, I'm going to turn these off. We're headed to our reading preferences. That's our last icon here. These are some of my favorite tools or features. So here we've got line focus mode, and this enables us to see, reduce the amount of lines we're seeing at one time. So we could look at one line at a time, 3 lines, or 5 lines. And here, let's move our text down so this works better. There we go. There's 5 lines, 3, or 1. So that's helpful to individuals that might be struggling, emerging readers, struggling readers, individuals who have focus and attention difficulties, or anyone who just simply prefers it. We also have Picture Dictionary, which is really one of my favorite tools. And I want to remind you that we are in a mainstream internet search here, right? I'm using a page called Tween Tribune. This is just a normal website page. And I have the ability through turning on Picture Dictionary to hover my mouse over a word, and I get a photograph that pops up and helps me comprehend or create meaning. When you have a word that has multiple meanings, you get multiple pictures. And they're adding new photos all the time. So I feel like I get distracted every time I open this because I'm like, ooh, let's check these words. No, Rachel, you're presenting right now. Move on. So this is done in conjunction with Boardmaker, and they make the visual images for individuals who struggle with communication, whether that be, you know, they're nonverbal or there's a speech language issue. So these certain subset of the population will find these images familiar. So last but not least, in terms of our features here, we have Translator. And again, we're in the internet and I'm translating the language of an internet page, which I think is just crazy. And you'll see here with as I'm scrolling, I have upwards of 75 different languages I could translate this page to. And I can translate the entire page or just a word. So let's go ahead and use our read aloud again. All right, so that's our neural text-to-speech Spanish-speaking voice. Like I said, there's about 75 different choices there. And that was utilizing Edge browser, Chromium Edition, Microsoft's Google. Let's go back into our PowerPoint and we're going to talk about a couple other places that you will be able to find Immersive Reader. Okay. I have different little Zoom things I have to keep moving in order to utilize all of my things. But that's not where I want. There we go. So Microsoft Lens is an app available in the App Store. This is free. You can use it for an iPhone, an Android, or an iPad. So I'm going to click the play button really quick and I'll probably talk over what's going on here, but you'll get the idea rather quickly that Microsoft Lens can be used to take a photograph of text that you'd like to have read aloud. So think about how, so it goes directly to Immersive Reader after you take the photo and see all of these features. All these features are the same as I showed you in Edge. This is the visual appearance of how it would have looked in OneNote were it cooperating with us today. So this is typically how Immersive Reader looks. So think of how non-stigmatizing it is. We've got students anywhere from late grade school to late grade school, middle school, high school, and beyond. It seems like it's pretty common to have a device on your person. Think of how non-stigmatizing it is for them to be able to snap a photograph, put in their earbuds, and have that text read aloud. All right, so again, Microsoft Lens, it's free in the App Store. I'm going to move to our next slide. So for those of you that are in Microsoft Schools or use Microsoft 365, if you're building a quiz or a test in Microsoft Forms, you'll notice Immersive Reader is built in. So again, look for that book with the speaker icon in Microsoft Forms, and it enables your students to have their test or quiz read aloud without having someone do that for them. So this is enabling independence. For educators that are using Canvas, which is one of the largest LMS systems used educationally, Immersive Reader is built in. So again, looking for that book with the speaker icon And again, and all the same features available to you that we demonstrated earlier. So these are some of the EdTech apps and publishers that have Immersive Reader embedded in already, and that list is growing rapidly. I don't even think, yeah, this changes really quickly. So there's a few that aren't on here, like Flipgrid, that have Immersive Reader built in as well. So chances are, and let's see, I don't see Brain Pop on here either. And my son just came home from school the other day and told me he demonstrated Immersive Reader to his science class because he noticed it in Brain Pop. So that was pretty cool. All right, so we're going to take a little break and see if anyone has any questions on Immersive Reader before I go into reading progress.
So there were a few questions. One of them is, it says, do I need to buy the Ed browser feature?
Edge? No, it's free. You can download it.
Okay. But it says Microsoft Lens, free app found in the App Store, can be downloaded on your phones. It allows you, okay, great.
Yep.
Okay, how do I access Immersive Reader in Canvas?
So let's go back. That's only a couple slides back. So in Canvas, let's wait till this slide starts over. It's got a little video on it here. All right, see how it's following with that yellow dot up in the upper right corner of Canvas. If you open an assignment, you should be able to see the Immersive Reader icon. And next question.
What is the program you said you could use to create tests and quizzes and then use them with the embedded Immersive Reader?
That's Microsoft Forms. And since that was only a couple slides back, I'm going to go ahead. There we are. Microsoft Forms.
Excellent. Someone says, can you show us a close-up of what the icon looks like, the Immersive Reader icon?
Oh, that's a really good idea. You know what? It probably could. Let me stop sharing. And the easiest way for me to do that is use my Edge browser. Pull up the icon. I mean, that's what I think of off the top of my head. So, because it is kind of hard to see on a screen. Some of us, our eyes, it's harder to see that, right?
Right.
Me in particular, I know I'm struggling with that. Immersive Reader icons. So, and while I'm doing that, is there another question that I might?
So one of the questions was, this is such a great thing. I'm super excited. They wanted to know, is it all available free?
Yes, it is. It's free. Free like Google Docs free. So here's the icon. If you can see, I hope you can see this better.
Yes, yes. Excellent.
Okay. All right. I will alt back then. And then other.
That was it for now.
Okay.
Put your questions in the chat, guys, if you have any.
All right. Let's tab back to my PowerPoint. And we're going to go into reading progress. Now, I don't know about how you feel about learning something new, but I know that when I am learning something new, I need a little bit of opportunity to learn that. So I will do a demonstration within the, I will cover it in PowerPoint first. Well, that didn't work really well. And then I'm going to go demonstrate within the app. Okay, so we're going to walk through here in PowerPoint reading progress. And this is such a new tool and there's so much involved in it that this is why I'm going to do it this way. All right, so reading progress, I'm going to start out with a quick video. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay.
Right now, we can only see the images. We're not seeing the reading progress. We're
Okay.
still seeing the icons.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay.
Let's see what we can do about that. Oh, I see why. This is so wonky. Let me stop share and redo it.
While you're doing that,
All right. Can you see it?
not yet. You're not sharing yet. Nothing's being shared.
All right. I'm not gonna get an A for this today. Sure. It literally does not want me to select it. I do not know why. When I want to share, I want to click the screen so that I can just share everything. And it
Now
just
it's
doesn't want.
starting to share. There we go. We see it now. We're having a hard time hearing though.
So in Zoom, do we need to share audio as well?
Yes.
All right. Is that
Down at
something you have to click on every time?
They're down at the bottom. There's like, when you go to share, it will say like maximize sharing. It's like on the left-hand bottom.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Share sound. But it doesn't enable me to click that. Huh. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Optimize and share sound, but they're gray instead of being black and then enabling me to click on it. I wonder why.
I'm not sure. Andrea, any thoughts?
So did the sound work at all, or was it?
It works a little bit. It's just hard to
really
hear.
low.
One person said maybe you could enable the closed caption.
Okay.
Oh, someone says Rachel has to be the host to do it. Let's see if
we can skip the video and you guys can look at it in the PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's not that big of a deal.
Okay, great.
I just think it's so I would recommend you go, oh, someone gave me hosting capabilities. So, well,
Yeah, you were co-host. So I'm thinking if it still doesn't work, you'd have to go into where the microphone is, the little caret, and then under audio settings there.
Carrot
Potentially.
Okay. Let's see, audio settings. And then what would we click on in the audio settings?
So I'm thinking, I'm trying to remember the last time I did this. Where it says microphone, is there a way to change what your mic would be? Because it would be playing through like the system itself potentially.
Well, it says test mic, or it's showing my personal device here. I'm worried that if we, that the other things may not work as well if I change it as I'm flipping back and forth. So I wonder if we just go with it and let users click on the video if they'd like to see it when they're checking out the resources of the portion. Okay, sorry, I just saw someone's comment and I got distracted there. So let's go ahead and move forward. The video, I mean, it's a lovely video showing a child and how they feel using the reading progress tool. And it's also an educator's perspective and a school leader. So it's a really great video. It's only 3 minutes long. I highly encourage you to check it out when you have the capability. And I don't think I need the sound. So we're just going to keep moving on, but I don't think I need the sound in any of my further. I'm trying to escape out of this here. There we go. Well, I accidentally stopped the screen sharing. Okay. So we're going to talk about reading progress from a student perspective. And here's Crystal. She's a 4th grade student. Her success and confidence depend on her ability to read. Much like other students, Crystal doesn't like fluency checks. They tend to make her nervous. She does worse than when she's reading at home. And This is Crystal's educator. She cares deeply about Crystal's reading ability, and that's why she checks fluency checks every week. In order to do that, she spends 5 minutes with each student and uses the good old methods like a pencil and paper and a stopwatch, times 27 students. So there's a lot of you today who have done this and maybe are still doing this. That's really time intensive. So how can Ms. Peterson help Crystal practice reading more often without having to go through this process every time and still gets insights? Well, reading progress. This is developed to improve student fluency through reading practice and educator insights. So this would have been another little quick video that you guys are going to watch on your own. And then what I'm going to tell you here is how we started reading progress. So during the whole process, we engaged over 300 educators and reading specialists and some really top experts that you'll see in just a minute. We started with the design jam, focused on fluency and reading analytics, created an early concept, and then showed it to everyone we could. Then last year, so September of 2021, we launched reading progress to general accessibility, which meant that anyone who had a school email address, any school across the US here and beyond had the ability to start using reading progress. The one thing about reading progress is you do need a school email address, so it is not available widely yet for people like myself, a parent or a tutoring organization. Not yet, but that is coming very soon. So we built reading progress with these top experts, and I know you guys are familiar with Dr. Tim Rosinski, Dr. Mike Seidenberg, Tim Shanahan, and Pam Allen. So these are some really great literacy experts that are steeped in structured literacy, science, or reading. So we're really proud of that, and I'm going to go ahead and show you through our slides how this works. I'm just going to give you an overview, and then we're going to go into the app, and I'll demonstrate in particular how one would set up a reading progress assignment. So here we've got Mrs. Peterson. She's going to create an assignment. She's going to go into her Teams school account here. So you'll see she's in Microsoft Teams. She's got her educator account, and she's in her what she's got here for the classroom. And we're going to go in here and upload a Word document and create an assignment. So from there, you see she's got geography of the Earth document. So this is a Word document, and this is something that came from her own device. So again, using a Word document and just uploading and selecting what she wants. Now you'll notice then once that's uploaded, you can go in and title it, put the reading level, the genre, set your pronunciation sensitivity, which is really important. So on our students that are young emerging readers who don't have a lot of exposure to reading, you'll probably want to adjust that sensitivity. Whereas if you're working with 4th, 5th graders, you've got a lot of exposure, it doesn't need to be as sensitive because their language skills and pronunciation are there. Reading level, and then the number of attempts, as well as whether you require video. From there, the educator can go ahead and then just attach that assignment. Now our student would then go into their portal or their 3rd grade class here under assignments. You notice they get a notification over here on the left, and they can say, okay, I've got an assignment. It's worth 25 points, and it's worth 25 points, and I'm going to go ahead and read that assignment, Geography of the Earth. So what our student does when they click on that is they get a view similar to this, and we'll see that a little bit more when we go into the app. And our student can go ahead and click on Start Reading. They get a countdown. Actually, I just realized this slide should come before the countdown. So our student has the ability first to adjust the settings so that they have a can personalize. So you'll notice here, these are some immersive reader features. Now, they cannot have the passage read aloud by Immersive Reader, but they can change their text sizing, their spacing, their font, their background color, because we know these are things that help our students perform better. So if they're looking at a text and they can't see it effectively and they're going to be squinting, they're not going to do as well, right? Or maybe they have a preference on that background color. So again, enabling them to personalize this portion so that they can do well. And then they get that countdown. From there, they click I'm done. And then they get a screen where they can preview their video. And they can either start over, because remember we set the number of attempts to, maybe they can get unlimited attempts, and trust me, the kids love this. so you do want to set the number of attempts, or they'll just play with it forever. I mean, they do like practicing with this tool. So when they're finished, they go ahead and click on I'm finished, and then our educator can review that assignment. So he or she will go into their assignments, and here they can see this is the reading assignment, Geography of the Earth. And we can look at all the students here. Crystal McKinney turned it in. We can see who didn't turn it in and who resubmitted it. From there, when we click on Crystal, we see we've got all this really rich data on Crystal in particular. She's got 41 correct words per minute, an accuracy rate of 83%. You see all these great things like mispronunciations, insertions, etc. Now we have the video over here, which is great. And we also have the ability for the educator to click on a word. The video will jump to that word and you can hear the student, so you don't have to watch the whole thing each time. You can click on it and jump to the word, or click on it and override. So if the AI has flagged it as a mispronunciation, you're like, well, no, that's the way the student pronounces that word. You can override it. Over here, you can enter feedback for the student, and the kids really love this when their teachers type in feedback and give them a little something. So it's a really neat thing as well. When we go into Insights, we can see Crystal McKinney more specifically, all of her reading assignments, her progress over time, her accuracy rate, her words per minute, all of these really great details. In addition to that, we get a further look at, so again, this is over time, any of those trouble words she's got. So maybe there's a pattern, maybe there's some specific help we need to provide. And what's really cool is this is per the individual, or you can look at it for the whole class. So again, is the whole class struggling with the same words? We need to, maybe go back and redo something for the students, or maybe it's a particular student who needs some isolated help on some particular skill sets. All right, we're going to go ahead and go out of our PowerPoint and into our desktop app and demonstrate our reading progress. So we should be looking at Microsoft Teams, which has got a bunch of different classroom icons for me. So we've got physical science, language arts, K-3, health research displaying on the screen. Is that what we're displaying, Brenda? You're muted.
Demonstration in blue is what we see.
All right.
A blue
So
circle.
I will have to, let's see. Still demonstration, or is it the?
Yes, still.
Why it does that? If anyone knows what I'm doing wrong, I would so love to know why it doesn't just tab over in the way that I'm desiring. Oh, right. So
Now we see all
now
that.
we are. Now it's magic. Okay. So we're in Microsoft Teams in the classroom that Mrs. Peterson has set up. We're going to go to 4th grade. And we are going to go to assignments.
Someone asked, does this work in Google Classroom?
No, that's Google, sadly. Google and
Okay.
Microsoft have yet to figure out how they might like to play in the sandbox with one another. So no, it's unfortunately just Microsoft. But here's the thing that you should know is if you're in a Google school and you use a Chromebook or Google stuff, you still can use this feature. So you can still download Microsoft Teams as an educator or school. You can still have these accounts for free. So that is a positive. All right, so we're going to take a look at our geography assignment here. Actually, what I wanted to do instead was let's create an assignment first. So remember when we were in the slide and we were creating assignment first, let's show you how to do that. So here we have this create feature at the bottom, and we're going to go for create an assignment. So here's where you see all of the detail we need to create an assignment. We're going to attach something. Now I'm going to attach reading progress. I could use my own, import a Word or a PDF of my own, or I could browse a sample library. So here's a new feature that you didn't see when I was in the slides. We can browse a sample library, which is provided by ReadWorks. That's a nationally normed benchmarking tool. So ReadWorks has all these great assignments that I could just go ahead and click on one. I have the ability to preview it, select it, and then go ahead, and here's our baby polar bear grows up assignment. And over here, I would set all of my different settings, you know, time limit. Maybe we've got 4 minutes on this, etc., etc. I'm going to see if we can do a student view. So here's what the assignment looks like. I want to see if we can see what the student would see and if this will work. Sometimes this feature doesn't work when I am presenting in a virtual format. So I wanted to see if it would work for me. So we're going to exit the student view. So anyway, here's how you would set this up using one of those features to set up your assignment. And then what we want to do is go back to our assignments. Sorry, these little toolbars for Zoom really get in my way because I move a lot.
Yeah, they do.
So I'm going to close this part here, and we're going to go back to our assignments. And sorry about that. I can hear someone downstairs on the other side of me, and evening times can be a little bit interesting with my family and kids here. All right, so we're going to go into our assignments. This is after we've assigned an assignment. Over here, you see we've got some returned, but I want to click on this particular assignment. We see we've got them turned in, and we're going to take a look at our student. So just like we were when we were in the slide, I'm going to show you what you get back here. Come on, video. Okay, so let's take a look at Ashley reading the assignment. Are you guys hearing?
It's a little bit hard to hear, but it's okay.
So we wanted to just demonstrate how you can hear and see her reading aloud, which is really helpful. And again, this is something that kids really, really love. Then we've got our, our accuracy rate, our words per minute. Here, as I mentioned, you can click on the word. We could autocorrect. We could jump the video to that word so that we could hear our students. This is text tools, inserting left or insert right, or selecting multiple words. I have not yet seen that. That's something brand new for us. And then again, like I had mentioned, so we have all of these great details. Over here, I could enter feedback for my student, and I'm going to move my bar here, and the points and everything else we need. I can go ahead here and click to my next student. So the next student who's been assigned to this reading passage can go ahead and take a look and see theirs. So that's really easy. I don't have to kind of go all the way out again. I can just go ahead and click to our students. And then I'm going to go and show you I'm going to close this and we're going to look at our insights. I know we're coming up pretty closely on our timing here. I want to make sure I get everything I want to share with you. So those are the assignments. That's creating an assignment, that's what it looks like. And then we want to see all of that insights or all of the data we get on our students. So we are going to, in our insights, scroll down here to reading progress. Here is our reading progress for our 4th grade. So this is for all of our students. We're looking at the different reading tasks. We see the accuracy. If we hover, we get the data on, you know, the students in general without having to click it in it. We could go ahead and search for a student. So we could pull up an individual student here and get her insights for Kiana. And then again, down here, those challenging words, she's only got 3 of them. From there, we could create a challenge assignment, which is one of the new features that I can't do in demo mode. But that challenge assignment will take those challenging words and create an assignment for the student to practice with those words. It's really amazing. That will be something that I'll be able to demonstrate at the IDA, which is going to be really fun coming up here in November. So again, we could look at the progress for a student, the whole class or the individual student, and that is under Insights. So again, here's our data over time, our accuracy rate over time, challenging words. This is for the entire classroom. And then again, if we wanted a challenge assignment for the entire classroom here. Soon we will be rolling out phonics rules that will come for those challenge assignments as well. So that's going to be something that's rolling out, which is really awesome. So again, all these things in Insights. I'm going to stop I'm going to go out of the demo and back into PowerPoint. I'm going to reshare though when I get there. Excuse me. And just for my knowledge, do we have any questions popping up?
Well, one of them is, well, it's a comment question. What is the hope parents will glean from this presentation? Is the hope that parents will ask these programs to be added to their child's school?
That's a good question. Parents can use the features that parents can use the immersive reader with their child. And
even if they're homeschool parents, there's a lot of homeschool
absolutely parents. Yes.
Okay,
Immersive Reader is again built into OneNote, which anyone can utilize. It's built into Microsoft Word. Here, let me show you where it is in Word quickly. And just remind me really quick, Brenda, how much time I have?
We still have a whole half hour total.
Oh, sweet. So let's do this. I'm going to get ready to demonstrate within Word how we can use the writing features and then how Immersive Reader looks. So while I'm answering that question, I'm going to pull those things up. So what parents can do is parents can use almost anything I've shown. They just are not able to use reading progress yet. But Immersive Reader is available for parents to utilize to support their student. In fact, you know, as someone who uses these tools myself, when we started COVID, you know, all of our children who were public schooled or private schooled, but schooled in a traditional sense, were coming home and learning from home, right? And my sons who aren't dyslexic were fatiguing, having to read everything on a device all the time. And so that was a lot. And so I showed them how to instead pull up their assignments through either Word, the online version, or Edge browser, and then have that read aloud when their eyes were fatiguing. So again, anyone can utilize these features.
Now, one of the people commented that they're not, it won't allow them to create an account as a parent. They don't have a school account because they homeschool.
Yeah, you don't have to have a school account to utilize Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is free and built in. If you have Microsoft Word, Microsoft OneNote, Edge browser is free. That's an internet search engine, just like Google. You can download Edge browser on your personal device and have access to Immersive Reader in that manner. All right, so let's take a look at Word, okay? So we're displaying Microsoft Word. I'm using the online version. So again, that means it's a web-based version. I type in Microsoft Word Online or office.com because I do have an Office account. So here, this document typically is for me when I'm demonstrating how dictation works and how our writing tool works. But I want to show you how Immersive Reader is built into our online version of Word. So if I'm clicking on the View tab, right over here is Immersive Reader with this book and speaker icon. I can click on that. And just like we were seeing with some of the other features, I've got Immersive Reader now overlaying this document and enabling me to just go to the click play and have it read out. Okay. So I can adjust my text. I can adjust, there's my grammar options again, and my reading preferences. So picture dictionary, language, line focus mode. So all of the things that I had showed you initially on the first half of our presentation. So this is Word Online. Word also has a desktop version that many of you know about. And I'm going to pop up the desktop version, and we are going to look at writing within Microsoft Word and supporting students' writing capabilities with Microsoft Word. So here is, again, this document. I'm in the desktop version. This is on my personal device. I happen to have a Windows device, but you can use the desktop version on a Mac or Apple, standard HP type. You can also download Word on a Chromebook. So if I go under the View tab now, again, most people utilize Microsoft Word for creation of content, not consumption of content. But let's say that I wanted to use the Immersive Reader in the Word desktop. It's right there. It is under the View tab, just like the online version of Word and just like within OneNote desktop and OneNote online. You're going to find it under that View tab. You could also type into the search, if you didn't know where to find it, you could type Immersive Reader and it would pop it up for you. So I like to, again, let's talk about supporting students with writing and the writing tools that are built into Word. What I'm going to do is move my cursor. I'm going to increase my text sizing quickly so that you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm under the Home tab. I'm going to go all the way over to the right and you'll see I have dictation. So when I want to dictate, I can simply just click on this. I'm a user of dictation software. I use dictation on a daily basis to remove the barriers I experience when getting information from my head onto paper in a clear and sequential manner, period. I used to tongue-in-cheek say that I was a dictation donor. That's because I hadn't found a tool that worked to effectively remove the barriers and keep up with my speaking. True story. Up until finding this available in Microsoft Word, the best tool I had for dictation was using my phone, my iPhone. And that's because the AI was superior to anything that I could have paid for as an app to use dictation. So again, here's how students who struggle with writing or dysgraphia, dyslexia, this can deeply help them. And you'll notice I have over here some settings. So I can choose to go into my settings and say, okay, my spoken language is English, but what if you're someone whose spoken language is Spanish or Japanese or German? So you can adjust that. You also have the ability to turn on auto punctuation, which you saw happening when I was speaking. And here's a really, really cool feature for students, filter out sensitive phrases. So, if you're someone who likes to swear when you're dictating, maybe you want to have that filtered out. So, all right, so those are the ways that you adjust it. From there, Again, we're under the Home tab all the way over to the right here with Dictation, but we just step over a little bit further and we've got Editor built in. Now, what happens when I engage our Editor feature is I get this pane that pops up on the right side of my screen, and it gives me an editing score. Notice it's not red like the ink marks you get, or the ink marks that I got. And look at this horrible score. That's pretty, would have been pretty common for me in school without any support. But the neat thing is here, we have this tool that will help us walk through all of the errors it found, and we can independently correct our errors. So what I'm going to do quickly though, is I'm going to get rid of this because we didn't need that. That's not in there. So we can go ahead in here to spelling. We say, let's go ahead and get started with our spelling. Our editor has picked up a spelling issue. I really would like to go back to principal. All right, so here's the cool thing about our spell checker. This is a new and improved spell checker, which enables us to not just give a list of potential spellings, but also you'll notice we've got a little context here. So now I can, yeah, right? Now I don't have to have my spell checker picking up the words, but then I have my dictionary here, or, you know, to look up, okay, what does each one mean? So I can disambiguate pretty quickly which version of the word I meant. And then over here, if I'm fatiguing, I can have this read aloud. So we can go ahead and automatically correct it, or we can skip it and move on. So as we're correcting, editor is going to automatically advance us to the next. We can arrow ahead, we can skip, we close that out and say, let's go ahead and take a look at our grammar options. What I like about the grammar options is it gives us a little detail here and tells us what we could do or why it was picked up. And then again, if we want to have it read aloud, we can have it read aloud. So editor will literally walk us through the entire document and suggest the changes, and then our score goes up quite a bit. And so again, a student or an individual would have the ability to do all of this independently, which is really great. I would like to point out that under our review tab, so view had Immersive Reader, right? Under review, we have a couple of different things that you may not have known about. So when we are dictating, a lot of times educators will say, when you're creating content, read it aloud to yourself before you turn it in. So here under our review tab is read aloud. It is just that. It's just going to read it aloud. You're not going to adjust the background and the spacing and all of those different things. That's really cool. And then I like to call out our translator. So if I was, and I think this is really important to this, this attendee base, as a parent who has a son on an IEP, I am, meeting frequently with his IEP team. Now, if you are an individual, or if you work with an individual who is a non-native speaker or needs a translation, right here under the review tab, we have translation. So we can translate the entire document. So I like to think about this in terms of, students we're working with that are non-native speakers and maybe their parents, and empowering them to come to the table and really be able to advocate for their child. So if they are not really well versed in English language, but yet they're coming to an IEP or a 504 meeting, we can translate those things for them really quickly within Word. And then, so if I was to click translate document, it's going to pop up on my right here, just like editor did. And then we'll translate the document. So if I have a Spanish auto selected, but we have 75 different languages, just like when we were using Immersive Reader. You just click on translate and then it would. And remember, under the view tab, if we need help with the reading, we can click on Immersive Reader. So those are just a couple extra little tidbits I wanted to show you with our writing tools. I know there were some questions. I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint in our resource section while Brenda is queuing up some of those questions.
Yes. So I'm going to have Chris Riley come on too, because Chris had some comments and questions as well.
Okay, cool.
All right, everyone is so excited. Like, just so you know, everyone's chomping at the bit. So everyone is very, very excited about it.
That's good.
I guess one of the big questions, of course, is school districts kind of, they've either like a Microsoft shop or a Google for Education shop. Is there a way to merge the two? Does everyone need to download like the Edge browser and then get into things that way? Or like, let's say assume we made a Google Doc. Should we then translate the Google Doc into a Microsoft Word doc? Like, what do you recommend?
That's the hard part, right?
Mhm.
Is that Google has their things and Microsoft has their things, right? So if
Right.
you've got a Google Doc and, but here's the thing to remember though, too, is that it's up to us as adults, as carers, as educators, as tutors or support persons to show our students what's out there so that they have the ability to choose what works best for them. So, I know this is going to sound super funny and rather biased because I work for Microsoft, but my kids go to school in a Google school, and that's totally fine. I really don't have an issue with it. However, my son, who struggles the most, was using a Chromebook and all of the Google, Docs, etc.
Right.
And he really, really struggled. Now, the struggle was because a Chromebook's processing power just is really insignificant. It's not meant to do the read aloud very nicely. It's not meant to dictate very nicely. It's lacking the processing power for those features. So truthfully, if you have a student who needs to rely upon those, they should be using something a little higher powered, whether that be Microsoft or Google, just not the Chromebook level. So my son was struggling deeply. I showed him my tools. And he found that worked much more effectively for him. And so, thankfully we had the ability to provide a different device for him. But when we, and that wasn't done through us, that was done through the school. So when we showed the school the capabilities that my son demonstrated using these tools, they were like, oh, wow, okay, this works. We want to provide him what works for him and removes the barrier. So again, it's kind of up to us to show the different options, but it is hard. So yes, if you have a Google document and you want to use the Immersive Reader or the dictation within Word works better, yeah, switch scrape it and switch it to a Word doc or open it in an online format. Unfortunately, our tools aren't embedded into Google's and Google's aren't embedded into ours.
Right.
So that does make it harder.
All right, somebody did ask about how does the team's assignments work with Canvas? And this you might not know because obviously, Canvas is the LMS system, but how are they put together, or is that something that they can just look at through Canvas? I wasn't sure.
So they want to know how Teams works with Canvas. I don't know if Teams and Canvas go together.
Okay.
Immersive Reader works with Canvas. Immersive Reader's built in. And so anything you're putting into Canvas, again, Canvas already has the Immersive Reader feature embedded into it. So you kind of have to look for it. It's usually at the top. It's that book and a speaker icon. I have heard that it is a feature sometimes districts need to turn on. So you may be in a district where you're using Canvas, you don't see that icon, it's likely because they've turned it off or they haven't enabled that yet. And you may need to say, like, this is a feature that's really going to benefit my students. I would like them to be able to utilize it. So,
yeah, and I have to admit, I mean, it's most universities have it. I know my university has everything through Canvas, and it literally just pops up all the time. And I actually kind of have to try to move it because it keeps showing up. But
So when you have it, you really have it.
You have it. I have it all the time. So yeah, it does. For people who are interested, it does show up. You kind of can't miss it, which is nice.
That's great.
Yeah, that part's great. this is my own personal question, just because I know it would be my school district question, is you know how Microsoft handles all the personal student data? Because of every state has their own different like Privacy Protection Act laws. It's a very big deal at every state level.
Yeah,
how,
it is.
how does Microsoft handle that? Because obviously you have the video as well as you have the voice of the child. How do they handle that?
Yeah, that's a really good question that as someone who's not involved on the tech creation side and the coding and all of that, I don't have I know I don't have the tech answer to it.
Okay.
Here's the deal. Data is a really, really big deal that we don't take lightly. So it is massively private. I know that we've met every guidance or regulation on that, but I can't speak to the technology specifically. And I'm going to take a note to make sure I understand how to answer that when I get to the IDA conference.
No, that would be great. And then maybe even just knowing like who school districts can talk to, because I know like my school district, we have a specific, very short list of technology tools we're allowed to even use.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to like, here's this wonderful form that they make you fill out. And if you unless you fill it out perfectly, the answer is no, even if it might be the best tool ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to, as educators, we just desperately want what's going to work well for students. So
you know what? I think this is such a good question for people that I will send the answer back to Brenda. And if Brenda wants to disseminate that, that would be really wonderful. I know that it is, again, it's something that's pretty locked down, which is why, again, we have a hard time expanding the access, but beyond schools right now, because we have to, have certain privacy measures in place. And so with our schools, we've got all of that so that educators, again, they've got not every educator can view everything of each other's, right? And only specific educators have the ability. So let's say you got a student who's on an IEP, right? And their educator wants to be able to show during the meeting how well that student is progressing. It's, the privacy is something very specific. So it's not like you could send the video of the child to the entire IEP team. Can't do that. So
that's great.
It's very specific access and privacy.
Great. No,
but I'll get the tech speak answer for you. So.
No, that's great. No, that's wonderful. Sort of a different kind of question is, as a student is reading and it's kind of keeping track and paying attention, will the student see like the words change color or like the little squiggles underneath, or do they not see that part? Okay.
They don't see any of that. They only see that view. If you remember the slide where it was just showing the text, right? After the student had adjusted it to their settings, all they see is the text as they would read it. Right. Yeah, that would be really distracting if they saw all the rest, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So is reading progress available to schools now?
Yes.
What do they need to do to sign up or get it?
That is a good question. We will have links I have links in the slide deck here at the end for how people access reading progress. And it's available through Teams Education. And an educator could go right into Teams for Education and start building their classroom and their assignments. So yeah, with a school email address, you have access to it for free.
What's the timeline for making this available to parents and homeschoolers?
Oh, wow. I wish it was tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Right? So, here's the thing. At Microsoft, we have timelines for things, and, we'll set for instance, we were hoping to release our phonics rules already entirely. And so sometimes due to budgets or other things, those timelines change a little bit. Our best hope is by this time next year. And I know that it had been something that was talked about for spring, but I would say it looks like hopefully this time next year. So not soon enough for those of us who really want it, but so much sooner than we anticipated initially.
It's so exciting. I hope, and Chris, I just noticed, put in a number of the links from your PowerPoint into the chat.
Okay.
I did have the opportunity to look at several of the videos, and it really is very exciting. I think, the opportunity for children to read aloud and they can see themselves will be very, very powerful. And of course, you have some that don't want to see themselves. If you didn't want to see yourself, could you turn the camera off but still read?
So that's an option for educators, and educators can click when they're setting that assignment and they're putting the title, the genre, the number of attempts. They have the option to say whether the student is required to do video or not. So it's
Can
within
you do
the
that by
settings.
child, or is it for the
Yep.
whole?
No,
Okay,
you
that's
can set that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But when you're ready, I'll walk through the resources I have.
Excellent. One of the people said, will the links be shared on the website? The links on our website, you will be able to access this video, Rachel's PowerPoint, which will have all the links in it.
Right. And feel free if there's something you can't find or you have a question on, I did provide my email. I love to help you. And, again, hear any stories about things that you've tried and maybe have helped you. So feel free to email if you like. All right. So this is the first slide of my resources. And I really
we're still back on the reading assistance. I'm sorry, writing assistance page. There we
All
go.
right. This is so fun, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know here. Okay. Resources, interactive guides. So I can't say enough about these interactive guides. They are created for reading, writing, math, and communication. So way more in depth than I could have done today. And what I would say is check out the reading one if you're interested in using the Immersive Reader, and it'll walk through they're self-paced. So it'll walk through and you will have to follow along and click on the appropriate spaces to learn the content. So you'll learn it as well as I know it, which is really cool. Next. Come on, next. Okay, there we go. This one is all about reading progress. Okay, so we've got a landing page at Microsoft where it's a website landing page where you'll learn everything about reading progress. Then we have what we call a MEC course. That's a Microsoft Educator Center course. Those are available to anyone and everyone, but our educators like to take those and then get MIE badges or points. MIE is a Microsoft Innovative Educator. So we have a lot of those around the US. And so again, this is a MEC course that teaches you how to use Immersive Reader. We also have the end-to-end demo and a reading progress customer story, our research, our K-12 one-pager. So this K-12 one-pager is really good if you are in an education setting, you want to tell other educators or your leadership about the reading progress tool. So that should help you. And another additional one-pager we have. So all of these different links, again, for you. And really, if there's something else I can provide, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. I want to thank you for having me join you all today. This has been really amazing. And look, I can see the attendance has really kind of hung in there as well. So I'm really glad you guys have remained on and asked such great questions.
Excellent. One of the things we do, Rachel, is people will get a follow-up email from Zoom, and we will include a link to the video in that. And like I mentioned, we will post it on the website within a week. This has been an amazing opportunity for us to explore and understand more about what's available to our students. So thank you so much for sharing this.
You are welcome anytime. And thank you for having me.
Excellent. Andrea is going to pull up the wrap up for our session. And I said I had a surprise for everyone. So for the 50 or so people remaining, and then for everyone who will see this later, we are, let's see. Okay. Our next read for parents will be in December 14th, 7 to 8:30 again. We're really excited to be able to feature this time coming up. Dyslexia 101. This is developed by IDA headquarters and will be used by all of the IDA branches so that we can provide this to all of our members in each of the states. We will be doing several roadshows. You can invite us to come out, or we will do Zoom webinars, et cetera, but this is your chance to see the very first one. It'll be presented by multiple board members. So make sure to put that on your calendar. Don't forget, I mentioned that we will have a 2-day conference. It's called The Science of Reading and the Road to Educational Recovery, the urgent need for structured literacy instruction for all students. That's on the 27th and 28th. If you are an IDA member, you get to attend the conference for just $25. And our special announcement tonight is, we all know that what's most important, well, one of the very important things are our parents and their children. And we would like to really boost our parent involvement and accessibility to our conference. So based on board votes, we've made the decision that we are going to offer our conference to parents of children in school for free. Did you hear that? All parents will get to sign up for our conference for free. And it truly is a who's who of leaders in literacy, like Suzanne Carricker, Carol Tolman, Nadine Gabb, Wiley Blevins, Natalie Wexler, et cetera. Tomorrow, and very soon, if you go to the website right now to register for our conference, you will see it will say parent registration and it's free. So parents, tell all your friends and tell everyone, the more the merrier. Literacy belongs to all of us. So please join us on this adventure. All right, so thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you at the conference, we hope.